Welcome to A Line Through Time, where I take the time to look through your favourite franchises and work out how it all lines up. This one's been a long time coming, eh? For one of my favourite franchises and the subject of my first video to reach 600,000 views, it's weird that I've not covered its timeline before now. Biohazard began life as a remake of the 1989 film tie-in game Sweet Home. After several revisions, the game became a PS1 survival horror game set in America and released in 1996. Titled Resident Evil in the West, the game follows a special police unit called STARS as an investigation into a series of cannibal murders just outside of Raccoon City leads them to a secluded mansion where they uncover experiments with a zombie virus called the T-virus. The STARS captain, Albert Wesker, is revealed to be an agent of the Umbrella Corporation, and this whole affair is being used to assess the potential of the virus. Most of the STARS are killed, with Wesker meeting his end at the gigantic clawed hand of Umbrella's ultimate creation, the Tyrant, while Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Rebecca Chambers and Barry Burton escape via helicopter right before the mansion explodes. I've discussed the canonical endings of the series in the past for those who are interested. Marvel Comics produced a one-shot prequel comic following Richard Icahn just before the Yawn attacks him, but the entire thing would be contradicted by later entries. Similarly, in 1997, a book titled Biohazard: The True Story Behind Biohazard was released. This contained the George Trevor notes that were cut from the game, as well as a short story about Chris and his missing friend, which has a number of contradictions with the game, such as Rebecca and Richard being on Alpha Team, not the missing Bravo team, or Chris and Jill encountering zombies prior to the mansion incident. I don't know how one fucks up that bad, but this makes the story very non-canon. On the 31st of December, a drama CD titled Biohazard Macabre Village Tragedy Sound Drama was released. I can't find anything about the plot aside from the fact that it's a prequel about Jill. The game's huge success led to a sequel entering development. Rather than RE1 director Shinji Mikami, the sequel was helmed by Hideki Kamiya, who had worked on the first game as a system planner. The original version of the game, dubbed Resident Evil 1.5, was set to release in 1997, but only a few months before its intended release date, the team decided they weren't happy with it, and Capcom allowed them to scrap the entire project and start from scratch, with only a few characters and plot points carrying over. Both versions centre on a viral outbreak that engulfs Raccoon City 2 months after the first game in September 1998, but 1.5 was intended to end the series, while 1998's RE2 left the door open for many sequels. Rookie police officer Leon S. Kennedy carried over as the male lead, while the female lead, Elza Walker, was replaced by Claire Redfield, who comes to town looking for her missing brother. Leon is aided by a spy named Ada Wong, while Claire saves Sherry Birkin, daughter of Umbrella's head researcher on the G-virus, William Birkin. It was Umbrella's attempt to take the virus from him that led to the T-outbreak in the city, while Birkin injected himself with G. After dealing with both G. Birkin and a more intelligent version of the Tyrant, Leon, Claire and Sherry escape the city, determined to find Chris and
take out Umbrella.
To go along with the game, production supervisor Yoshiki Okamoto formed Flagship Co. Limited to bring in professional writers to improve the quality of storytelling in the games. In addition to working on RE titles from 1998 to 2002 and even a few portable Zelda titles, they also produced a number of expanded universe materials for Resident Evil, a light novel, a CGI short film, and multiple audio dramas. The thing is that the continuity was always questionable. The 3 parts of the doomed Raccoon City opens with a scene set in the mansion a month after the first game. You know, the game in which the mansion exploded? The little runaway Sherry having Sherry looking for Claire after RE2 doesn't fit, since she's supposed to be placed into government custody right after Claire leaves to find Chris, at least as of the Darkside Chronicles. The female spy Ada references elements from the Sherry one, and the light novel and CGI short film are irrelevant enough to ignore. It's possible some of these are considered at least partially canonical due to Flagship working on some of the games, and I will address that if anyone can prove they are, but for now, I feel that it's best to write the whole lot off as non-canon and move on. While I'm here, I'll also shoot down a few other pieces of media as well. Rose Blank and To the Liberty are fanfiction submitted for a contest. They may have been officially published by Capcom, but they don't count. The Benny Matsuyama novellas are all adaptations of the games. Likewise, the SD Perry novels are either adaptations or original stories set in that altered continuity. Adaptations are inherently non-canon unless you're Yoko Taro. I shouldn't have to explain this, but I once received a comment from a guy on my Sonic timeline claiming that the Sonic X anime is canon, but the Sonic 06 game is not, and my estimation of the average human IQ level had to readjust accordingly. Anyway, back to the games. After Resi 2, 3 new sequels were planned. Kamiya's RE3 for the PS2, Code Veronica for the Dreamcast, and a prequel starring Rebecca for the N64. Supposedly due to issues of exclusivity and delays, Okamoto worried that the series might become unprofitable and had Kamiya's title rebranded as RE4, with a new PS1 title releasing to conclude the trilogy. Releasing in 1999, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis follows Jill during the Raccoon City outbreak a little before and after RE2. Resi 2 established that the STARS members returned from the mansion, but with no evidence remaining of Umbrella's experiments and correct suspicions that the police chief was being bought off, the STARS went underground to take Umbrella down themselves. RE3 retconned this so that only Chris went to Europe so as not to draw too much attention. Umbrella sent its most advanced and durable tyrant, Nemesis, to hunt down the STARS members still in the city. Jill is eventually able to kill Nemesis with a railgun and magnum combo before escaping the city, right before a nuke is dropped on it to keep the virus contained. January 2000 saw the release of the final PS1 RE title, Resident Evil Survivor, a game developed to be played with a light gun which wasn't even a feature in the US version in the wake of the Columbine shooting. The game follows an amnesiac named Ark Thompson who was sent to investigate Umbrella's presence on Sheena Island by his good friend Leon Kennedy in November 1998. It sucks, let's move on. The following month, Code Veronica released. Set in December 1998, the game follows Claire's attempts to find Chris, getting her locked up on Rockfort Island. While there, she gets in touch with Leon to ask him to tell Chris where she is, making one wonder why, if she knew Leon could reach Chris, she didn't just ask him where Chris was instead of raiding Umbrella's Paris HQ by herself. Chris eventually finds her once she's made it to Umbrella's Arctic base, where the two siblings do battle with Alexia Ashford, descendant of one of Umbrella's founders and creator of the T. Veronica virus. Her brother Alfred is also there for thematic reasons, but is otherwise not important. In addition, Wesker returns with super speed, strength and durability. It would take about 7 years for us to finally get an explanation. 2001 saw a series of non-canon games release. The Game Boy Color received Resident Evil Gaiden, which followed Barry and Leon investigating an Umbrella cruise ship, only for Leon to get replaced by a green-blooded doppelganger, which is obviously not canon. Survivor 2 was a first-person adaptation of Code Veronica's plot, and the first of 5 versions of RE4 released as Devil May Cry. There was also the Wildstorm comic, Resident Evil the Official Comic Magazine. The comic tells a series of short stories set during the events of RE1 and 2, but with a number of contradictions with later games, and seems to be set in its own universe, which seems to also apply to subsequent Wildstorm productions, Fire and Ice, and Resident Evil. 2002 worked out better for the series, releasing both a remake of the first game that stands as the benchmark for video game remakes to this day, and RE0, both on the GameCube. Zero follows Rebecca and inmate Billy Cohen a day before the original, as the two explore another Umbrella facility in the Arclay Mountains and take down Umbrella's undead co-founder James Marcus and his leech creatures. In February 2003, following Gun Survivor 3, which was a Dino Crisis game for some reason, Gun Survivor 4 Biohazard Heroes Never Die was released, but renamed to the lame Resident Evil Dead Aim in the West. The game follows Bruce McGivern, a member of an anti-Umbrella task force, as he investigates an Umbrella ocean liner in 2002. In December, Capcom released Resident Evil Outbreak for the PS2. Following a group of 8 survivors in Raccoon City, the game spans the full length of the outbreak across multiple scenarios, somewhat similar to Left 4 Dead. A sequel, Outbreak File No. 2, was released the following year with completely different scenarios, so it's not clear which of the two is supposed to be canon. I think the first one is generally accepted as such, though the wiki posits that the survivors split into 2 groups after the tutorial, with half doing each game's scenarios. Following a short delay that pushed it into the year after its set, Resident Evil 4's final version released in 2005 for the GameCube. The game is set in autumn 2004 and follows Leon after the fall of Umbrella a year prior, as he saves the president's daughter from a Spanish cult infected with the newly introduced Las Plagas parasite. Because of the poor sales of Remake and Zero, the game was a massive shift into action rather than survival gameplay and completely changed the course of the series for a decade. Following the later PS2 release, a DVD movie of Resi 4 released in Japan as Biohazard 4 Incubate. Included with it was a 64-page booklet with a short story under the same name, which is a journal kept by one of the villagers prior to the game, answering questions such as what was life in the village like before the infestation, and what happened to all the children. In 2007, Capcom released a rail shooter for the Wii, Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles. The game is narrated by Wesker as he summarises the events of RE0, 1 and 3, while also filling in details on Ada Wong's survival of Raccoon City, how Wesker returned from the dead, and then one final scenario following Chris and Jill raiding Umbrella's Russia facility in 2003, finally finding the evidence they need to take it down and send its final founder and current CEO, Oswald Spencer, into hiding. In the build-up to the game, a two-part manga titled Biohazard Umbrella Chronicles Prelude to the Fall was published in Weekly Shonen Champion. It follows Chris and Jill investigating an outbreak in a Russian village right before their raid on the Umbrella facility, with a brief encounter with Wesker. While there wasn't a game released in 2008, a CGI movie, Resident Evil Degeneration, was. The film sees Claire and Leon reunite in November 2005 thanks to a viral outbreak at an airport. This began a series of CGI movies to come later which are dumb fun rather than cinematic disasters like their live-action counterparts. In 2009's Resident Evil 5, Wesker finally makes his move in Africa where the progenitor virus that led to every later virus had been discovered. He's pursued by Chris, now a founding member of the Bioterror Security Assessment Alliance, and his new partner Sheva Alomar, who finally kill Wesker in a volcano because RE5 is stupid and dumb and I love it. The game also included flashbacks to a prior incident in 2007 where Chris and Jill tracked down Spencer only to find him dead by Wesker's hand, culminating in Jill tackling Wesker out a window to their supposed deaths. One mind-controlled boss fight later and Jill is fine. Those events were expanded upon in one of the game's two DLCs, Lost in Nightmares. The other is set during the game, so it's not worth mentioning. Later that year, the Darkside Chronicles released, adapting RE2 and Code Veronica, while also exploring a new story set in 2002 as a framing device. Leon and his partner Krauser are dealing with an outbreak in South America, while also setting up Krauser's villainous turn in RE4. No specific time frame is given beyond its year, but with Dead Aim taking place in September, Operation Javier is likely earlier in the year. 2012 was a very busy year for the franchise. In addition to the non-canon Operation Raccoon City, 2012 also gave us Resident Evil Revelations on the 3DS, Resident Evil 6 later in the year, a second CGI movie, Damnation, a few weeks after that, and the commencement of the publication of the Mahawa Desire manga. Revelations seemed at first like it was a pseudo-remake of RE Gaiden, but with Chris and Jill in place of Leon and Barry, but the Umbrella and Doppelganger elements were dropped from the final game. Taking place in 2005, presumably before Degeneration takes place in November, the game centers on a group seeking revenge for an outbreak of hunters in the city of Terra Grigia the previous summer. Jill, Chris, and other BSAA members take them down, but a few plot threads remain dangling that will likely never be followed up on. This is also, sadly, the most recent canonical appearance of Jill, whose story ends with RE5. Revelations 3 When Capcom. RE6 is set in November 2012 and summer 2013. The game sees Chris, Leon, Sherry, Ada, and Wesker's son Jake going up against Neo Umbrella and their new C-Virus across Eastern Europe, the US, and China. While a good game on its own, this overly action-oriented entry proved the straw that broke the camel's back for the series, resulting in Capcom re-examining the direction they would take it in the future. Damnation follows Leon investigating possible BOWs being used in an Eastern European civil war sometime in 2011. Mahawa Desire follows an outbreak at a prestigious private school in Singapore investigated by Chris and Pierce from 6 sometime in 2012 before Resi 6's Edonia mission. 3 years later, Revelations 2 was released, bringing back Claire and Barry while also resolving a plot thread left dangling from RE5, Alex Wesker, the last of the Wesker children. The game is set in two time frames across 2011, with Claire stranded on Alex's island with Barry's daughter Moira, and Barry searching the island for the missing Moira 6 months later. The bonus Natalia episode takes place immediately before her and Barry's section, Moira spans the full 6 months, and the epilogue is set right before the 2013 portion of RE6. Damnation apparently takes place in February, setting all of Revelations 2 after it. That same year, a new manga titled Biohazard Heavenly Island began publication. An island-set reality show about Japanese idols and American supermodels is interrupted by a viral outbreak in 2014, with Claire being sent by TerraSave to investigate. This manga, unlike the last one, has no official English release, but there are Spanish and German ones. October of that year also saw the release of Biohazard the Stage, because every Capcom series needs a stage adaptation apparently. This is actually the second stage adaptation of the series, but 2000's Bioroid Year Zero was a comedic farce, so it doesn't count. Despite the cast being Japanese, the story sees Chris and Pierce investigating an outbreak at an Australian university where Rebecca is a teacher. It takes place in 2010, meaning that Pierce's 3 appearances are all set in reverse order. In 2016, Umbrella Corps released. This janky mess follows an agent of the new Umbrella Corporation formed by members of the old company that didn't know about the illegal experiments and want to make amends. This agent is tasked with testing anti-BOW weapons before the company tries to kill him for some reason. And it's hinted that either Wesker is back or has been cloned, since both the main character and the person in charge of the experiment are voiced by DC Douglas. The story is set from 2012 to 2013, while the multiplayer is set in 2015, with 10 corporations sending mercenaries to retrieve old Umbrella's secrets. The game is dumb. Musical Biohazard Voice of Gaia released later that year. It's a musical with an entirely original cast and set at some unspecified time in the canon. Thanks to this and the plot point that music can calm these zombies, I'm going to just pretend it doesn't exist for the rest of the video. In January 2017, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, or Biohazard 7 Resident Evil, was released. The game could probably be an episode unto itself with all the videotapes and DLC that flesh out the story, but the crux of it all is this. In 2014, Mia Winters disappears and is presumed dead. In 2017, her husband Ethan receives an email from her leading him to the home of the Baker family in Dulvey, Louisiana, all of whom have become infected by a bioweapon named Evelyn, who now controls their minds as well as Mia's. With help from Zoe Baker, Ethan is able to cure Mia and escape with help from Chris and the Umbrella Corps. Chris then deals with the final Baker, Lucas, and Zoe receives the cure once her Uncle Joe faces down her bafflingly still alive father, Jack. There are also DLCs set throughout the 3-year gap. Again, another time. In February, the 4th stage play, Biohazard The Experience, was released. The show has no plot synopsis I can find, so I can't place this one either. Still, it's notable for being, I believe, the first Resi story actually set in Japan. How come we've never had a game set there? What, are they worried they can't top Yakuza Dead Souls? In May, the 3rd CGI film, Vendetta, released. This one is dumber and more over the top with a stupid plot detail at the end that I won't spoil, but it's still better than any of the live action films. The film is set in 2016. Sadly, Chris had 3 appearances in 2017 and Roger Craig Smith, his voice actor since 2009, did not reprise the role for either Resident Evil title, but did for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Whose incompetence led to this folly?
In 2019, a remake of RE2 was released, but unlike the first remake, this one apparently isn't considered canon over the original. It's a reimagining along the same lines as the Chronicles games. After that, we have the upcoming Project Resistance, an asymmetrical multiplayer game about a group of 4 survivors at an Umbrella lab being used to test BOWs like RE2's Tyrant. Currently, it's difficult to say if it's set in the RE2 make timeline or the original, or if it's set before, during, or after the Raccoon City incident, so we'll leave it out for now. And no, before anyone asks, I'm not going into the fucking manhwas. People have legitimately tried to contradict me on past videos with these non-canon pseudo-adaptations, and I'm not fucking having it. So without further ado, the manhwa-less Resident Evil timeline goes a little something like this. December 4th, 1966. Oswell E. Spencer, Edward Ashford, and James Marcus discover the Stairway of the Sunflower in West Africa. Marcus begins experimenting with the flower's RNA virus, dubbed the progenitor virus. November 10th, 1967. Spencer's experiments with the virus in Lisa Trevor results in a new strain dubbed the Tyrant virus. 1968. Spencer and his cohort establish the Umbrella Corporation to help fund their research. July. Spencer arranges for Ashford to be infected with the progenitor virus, killing him. Circa 1973. Chris Redfield is born. Circa 1975. Jill Valentine is born. Circa 1977. Leon Scott Kennedy is born. September 1977. Albert Wesker and William Birkin begin working as Umbrella researchers. July 31st, 1978. Spencer splices Ebola genes into the T-virus, causing infection to mutate the subject and cause undeath. Circa 1979. Claire Redfield is born. 1982. Ashford's granddaughter Alexia creates the T. Veronica virus. December 31st, 1983. Alexia infects herself with T. Veronica and enters cryogenic sleep to allow the virus to gestate. 1988. Spencer has Wesker and Birkin assassinate Marcus. His body is dumped along with his Queen Leech, which begins to consume him. Experiments with the Nemesis alpha parasite in Lisa Trevor results in the creation of the Golgotha virus. April 1996. The Raccoon City Police Department establishes the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, led by Albert Wesker. 1998. May 11th. T-virus development is finalised with the Epsilon strain producing a bioweapon dubbed Tyrant. The Queen Leech, having taken on the form and memories of Dr. Marcus, orchestrates an outbreak of the T-virus in Umbrella's Arclay Mountain facilities, turning all of the employees into zombies. May 20th. A series of T-virus related deaths begin occurring in the forest surrounding the Umbrella facilities, leading to an RPD investigation. July 23rd to 25th. Umbrella's Ecliptic Express is attacked and brought to a stop by the Queen Leech. The STARS Bravo team begins its investigation of the forest area. Rebecca Chambers encounters disgraced Marine Billy Cohen on the train, which then travels to the training facility where it derails. The two discover the Leech Queen and kill it. Dr. Birkin activates the self-destruct system, destroying the facility. Rebecca heads towards the Spencer mansion to search for the rest of Bravo team. Alpha team pursues the missing Bravo team. They are attacked by infected dogs, chasing them into the mansion. Chris and Jill uncover Wesker's involvement with Umbrella and his plan to eliminate the STARS members with the bioorganic weapons. Wesker is killed by the Tyrant. Chris and Jill destroy the Tyrant and escape the mansion with Rebecca, Barry Burton and Brad Vickers as the only other survivors. Wesker revives thanks to an experimental virus from Birkin, granting him enhanced speed, strength and durability. He escapes the mansion shortly before its self-destruct system destroys it. August 8th. With no remaining evidence of Umbrella's wrongdoings, the claims of the surviving STARS members are dismissed. August 24th. Chris and Barry find evidence of the G-virus. Chris heads to Umbrella's headquarters to continue his investigation. September 22nd to October 1st. Umbrella's USS Alpha team enters Dr. Birkin's lab to take the G-virus from him. Birkin is gunned down and the virus is taken. Birkin injects himself with the virus. The mutated Birkin massacres the soldiers, leaving only one survivor, Agent Hunk. Sewer rats become infected by broken T-virus canisters and infect the city's water supply. The virus spreads through the city, infecting tens of thousands of citizens, leading to a quarantine. Jack's bar is overrun by zombies, leaving only 8 survivors. Umbrella dispatches the new Nemesis T-type Tyrant into the city to eliminate the remaining STARS members, killing Brad at the police station. Jill meets UBCS mercenary Carlos Oliveira. Nemesis infects Jill with the T-virus. Leon enters the city to help deal with the riots, while Claire arrives in search of Chris. Leon teams up with Ada Wong, while Claire rescues Birkin's daughter, Sherry. Ada is seemingly killed by a Tyrant T-003 model, which is then killed by Leon. Leon, Claire and Sherry escape the city via train as Birkin is killed by the Nest facility's self-destruct. Agent Hunk escapes the city via helicopter with the G-virus sample. Leon and Sherry are taken into government custody, while Claire leaves to continue her search. Leon enters government employment to keep Sherry safe. Carlos discovers an antivirus at Raccoon General Hospital and cures Jill of her infection. Jill destroys Nemesis and escapes with Carlos in Barry's helicopter. The Jack's Bar survivors escape the city via helicopter from Raccoon University with the Daylight vaccine. Ada smuggles herself onto an Umbrella helicopter heading out of the city. The government annihilates the city with a thermobaric bomb. November 8th. Ark Thompson is dispatched to investigate Umbrella's presence on Sheena Island. November 22nd to 26th. Vincent Goldman releases the T-virus across the island, infecting almost the entire populace. Goldman is killed by the Hypnos T-type, which is then destroyed by Ark. Ark escapes via helicopter as the island is destroyed by the Umbrella facility's self-destruct. December 17th to 28th. Claire is captured at Umbrella's Paris facility and held captive on Rockfort Island. The island is attacked by the host capture force led by Wesker. Claire escapes in a plane to Umbrella's Antarctic base, where Chris finds her. Alexia awakens but is killed by Chris. 2002. Leon and Jack Krauser pursue South American drug lord Javier Hidalgo. Javier fuses with a T. Veronica plant but is killed by the two with help from Javier's daughter, Manuela. Krauser disappears soon after. September 22nd to 23rd. Morpheus D. Duval hijacks the Spencer Rain cruise liner and threatens to launch T-virus missiles at the US and China. US Stratcom agent Bruce McGivern and Chinese agent Fong Ling kill Morpheus and destroy the missiles. Early February 2003. Chris and Jill investigate an outbreak in a village in Russia's Caucasus Mountain region. Evidence leads them to an Umbrella facility in the region. Wesker infiltrates the facility and kills Umbrella executive Sergei Vladimir. With evidence obtained at the facility, Umbrella is shut down and Spencer goes into hiding. 2004. Summer. Terrorist group Il Veltro causes an outbreak in the city of Terra Grigia. The Federal Bioterrorism Commission destroys the city. Autumn. A Spanish cult, Los Illuminados, releases a plague of parasites in the local village and abducts Ashley Graham, daughter of the President of the United States. Leon is dispatched to save Ashley. He kills the group's members including Krauser, now working for Wesker. Ada retrieves a plague sample for Wesker. 2005. The Queen Zenobia ship is taken by Il Veltro and infected with the T-Abyss virus. The newly established Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance dispatches Jill and Chris, who kill the group's leader, Jack Norman. November. Curtis Miller is manipulated into releasing the T-virus in Harvardville Airport by Frederick Downing. Leon is dispatched to rescue survivors, encountering Claire inside the airport. The G-infected Miller is killed by Leon, and Downing is taken into custody. August 2006. Chris and Jill uncover Spencer's whereabouts at his cliffside castle. Wesker arrives and kills him first. Jill tackles Wesker through a window into the ocean below, both being presumed dead. Wesker takes Jill captive and performs experiments on her. 2007. The so-called Blue Umbrella is established by former Umbrella employees to assist in counter-bioterror operations. March 5th to 7th, 2009. Chris is dispatched to Kijuju to investigate a Plaga outbreak instigated by Wesker. He is joined by BSAA West Africa operative Sheva Alomar. Chris and Sheva encounter Wesker and Jill and are forced to fight them. Jill is freed from the influence of the P-30 chemical Wesker used to control her. Chris and Sheva take down Wesker's bomber before he can unleash the Ouroboros virus across the world. He finally meets his end inside an active volcano. August 12th, 2010. The T-virus is released in Australia's Philosophy University. Chris, Piers Nivens and Sophie Holm are dispatched to contain the situation. 2011. February. The Eastern Slav Civil War escalates as the anti-government insurgents acquire BOWs. Leon is dispatched to intervene, resulting in the ousting of President Svetlana Belikova. Spring. A group of TerraSave members are abducted by Alex Wesker's forces, including Claire and Moira Burton. Claire escapes the island, presumably as the sole survivor. Autumn. Barry finds the island and rescues Moira, killing Alex with assistance from Claire. Alex is suspected to have lived on through copying her consciousness into Natalia Corda. 2012. Carla Radamez releases the chrysalid virus at Singapore's Mahawa Academy. Chris, Piers and Mera Biji are dispatched to contain the situation. Mera is killed during the operation. March. Umbrella begins testing its new line of anti-BOW weapons. December 24th. Chris leads a BSAA operation to intervene in the Edonian Civil War following reports of BOWs. Chris loses most of his squad to the C-virus and disappears in an amnesiac stupor. Sherry tracks down Wesker's son, Jake Mueller, whose blood contains antibodies for the C-virus. The two are captured by Radamez. June 29th to July 1st, 2013. Pierce finds Chris in Eastern Europe and brings him home. President Adam Benford's attempt to expose the secret dealings between the government and Old Umbrella are thwarted by Derek Simmons releasing the C-virus in the town of Tall Oaks, infecting Adam. After killing Adam, Leon and Agent Helena Harper escape Tall Oaks shortly before Simmons has it bombed. Chris and Piers are dispatched to Lanxiang, China to combat a C-virus outbreak where Chris regains his memory. Jake and Sherry escape the facility they are being held in and make it into the city. Leon, Helena and Ada also arrive in the city in pursuit of Simmons and Radamez. Ada tracks down and kills Radamez. Jake and Sherry are captured by Simmons' men. A C-virus missile is launched into the city. Leon and Helena kill the infected Simmons while Chris and Piers help Sherry and Jake to escape. After losing an arm, Piers injects himself with the C-virus to battle Radamez's ultimate BOW, dying soon after. 2014. The filming of Idle Survival is interrupted by a viral outbreak. Claire is dispatched by TerraSave to contain the virus. October. While transporting the bioweapon Evelyn, Mia Winters becomes shipwrecked and the two are found by Jack Baker in Dovey, Louisiana. Mia and the Bakers are soon infected by Evelyn's mold and fall under her control. 2015. Numerous companies begin competing to obtain the remnants of fallen bioterror organizations. 2016. Leon fails to prevent a bomb containing the Animality virus from detonating in Washington, D.C. Glenn Arias releases the A virus in New York, where he is killed in battle by Chris with help from Leon and Rebecca. The antivirus is dispersed, curing the infected. July 2017. Ethan Winters receives a message from Mia telling him where she is. He enters the Baker estate and kills Jack and Marguerite Baker. With help from Zoe Baker, he cures Mia of her infection. He then kills Evelyn with help from Chris and Blue Umbrella. Chris pursues Lucas Baker into the nearby salt mines and kills him. Joe Baker saves Zoe from her revived father and obtains the cure for her, bringing Evelyn's mold infestation to an end. Short of Sonic and maybe Street Fighter and Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure this is the longest final summary we've had on this show. I suppose that's in the nature of horror games, with the setup having already happened, but still needing to be brought up for the most part. You shouldn't expect a Dead Space episode anytime soon, I can tell you that for free. Since I don't have anything meaningful or funny to end off on, no surprise there, I'm going to pose a question. In the inevitable 3-make, even if she gets a new outfit, which she likely will, Jill will still be able to get her classic RE3 outfit if slightly tweaks like Claire's was. So, do you think they should base the classic costume on the original RE3 version, or the slightly darker O2 onwards version with the gloves and gear added? Personally, I hope there's a bit where Jill heads to her apartment or the STARS office to get more equipment, and she switches from one to the other. That would be sick. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended playlist is the ongoing Resi retrospective of The Sphere Hunter. She covers a lot of survival horror games on her channel, with Resident Evil being the clear favourite. I don't know what else to say except that it's good and in-depth, so check it out or else please.